Today, I will be discussing a very important passage from CAT 2021, Slot 2. It's called as Truth and Power. This initiative by iQuanta is known as iRC. Will be discussing all the past year papers. We also have an initiative called IQA for quants and LRDI for LRDI. Here goes the passage. Many people believe that truth conveys power. All right. So in the starting, it looks like a question or maybe a surprise, followed by four dots. So it is being said. Many people believe that truth conveys power. So if we read this, we're not very sure whether this thing is correct or not. Let us read further. Hence, sticking with the truth is the best strategy for gaining power. Unfortunately, this is just a comforting myth. So the question has been answered already by the author himself. In fact, truth and power have a far more complicated relationship because in human society, power means two very different things. So the first paragraph essentially introduces the topic, truth and power, and it has been said that both are closely interconnected, but there is something extra which might be very surprising and kind of enlightening, which is going to be in this passage. Let us read the second paragraph. On the one hand, power means having the ability to manipulate objective realities, to hunt animals, to construct bridges, to cure diseases, to build atom bombs. This kind of power is closely tied to truth. If you believe a false physical theory, you won't be able to build an atom bomb. Makes sense? On the other hand, power also means having the ability to manipulate human beliefs, thereby getting lots of people to cooperate effectively. Building atom bombs requires not just a good understanding of physics, but also the coordinated labor of millions of humans. Planet Earth was conquered by Homo sapiens rather than by chimpanzees or elephants because we are the only mammals that can cooperate in a very large numbers. And large scale cooperation depends on believing common stories. But these stories need not be true. You can unite millions of peoples by making them believe in completely fictional stories about God, about race, or about economics. The dual nature of power and truth results in the curious fact that we humans know many more truths than any other animal, but we also believe in much more nonsense. So, such a beautiful way to explain things. So, here it's been said that there are two kinds of truths which give you two kinds of powers. One is the changing the objective reality. What is objective reality? Something which is same for everyone. For example, I can see that sun rises in the east, and anybody apart from me who is a human or non-human who understands the rising of sun would see the same thing if we are, of course, on planet Earth. On Venus, it will be reverse because the rotation of Venus is reverse of that of Earth. So basically, the objective reality of all the people who are living on the planet Earth, the reality of sun rising in the east is the objective reality because it is true for everyone. Then there can be subjective realities. For example, I might believe in one form of God, but you might believe in some other form of God. That is a subjective reality. So truth there are two kinds of truth, and thereby there'll be two kinds of power. One is manipulating the objective reality. For example, there is a crop, and all of us humans now understand that if we grow this crop, we'll be having some fruits, let's say orange, mango, whatever. So we kind of manipulate the reality because we are actually sowing the seed, planting it, giving it all the manure, water, and everything, and after that we can eat the fruit. So that is, we have done it ourselves, but this thing will be same for everyone. So everybody will have a belief that I, Abhishek, has actually planted a tree. So everybody will be having same belief. Nobody will come and say, okay, Abhishek has not planted a tree, but he has tamed a horse. No, that will be an objective reality. So the one power that we humans have, which is based on the manipulation of objective reality. That is one truth, or we can say one kind of power. The other power is it comes with manipulating the beliefs of people, the subjective realities. And that can come through another kind of truth, which is not essentially a truth, but more of a fiction. For example, if someone wants to gather a lot of people for some common goal, then that common goal would not be with the kind of motivation required, the kind of strategy is required, the kind of belief system which is required would essentially be or not necessarily be true because all of us can believe in one particular form of God or one particular form of truth, and all that is not necessarily factual. So that is how humans, if they want to cooperate, they want to motivate, they want to gather as a team, at that time, the true story would not actually be fruitful. So this is a kind of a very inquisitive statement and at the same time very thought-provoking passage in which we need to understand that truth is not always required. Moreover, in this passage, there is one thing which I want to tell you, and that is something which is called reading between the line. Like a lot of people just read it but do not comprehend it. So here, if you noticed, it's mentioned that Homo sapiens, that is we, human beings, we are the ones who conquered this planet, but not the chimpanzees or elephants. So why would the author use chimpanzees or elephants? The reason is because chimpanzees and elephants are actually very intelligent and cooperative species. But still, they can't gather in large number to build an atom bomb. The first thing is we should know the laws of physics to build the atom bomb. That is one reality. The other reality is a lot of people are required to build an atom bomb, and for that we should tell a fictional story which can motivate or gather people. So that is something which only humans can do. And the reason is not just intelligence or knowing the physicality or knowing the science. The reason is more than that. And the reason is that we human beings can manipulate the subjective realities as well by giving a fictional tale. So that is what the second paragraph means. Let us read the third paragraph now. When it comes to uniting people around a common story, fiction actually enjoys three inherent advantages over the truth. First, whereas the truth is universal, fictions tend to be local. Consequently, if we want to distinguish our tribe from foreigners, a fictional story will serve as a far better identity marker than a true story. The second huge advantage of fiction over truth has to do with the handicap principle, very important, which says that reliable signals must be costly to the signaler. Otherwise, they can easily be faked by cheaters. Right. If political loyalty is signaled by believing a true story, anyone can fake it. So if the story is true, anybody can actually, copy that and try to be the leader, try to be the motivator. So that is why it should be costly to the signaler. I'll explain it more. All right. But believing ridiculous and outlandish stories exacts greater cost and is therefore a better signal of loyalty. So basically, if someone tells stories which are outlandish or weird or not true or totally fictional, and that is something which is done by few people only, not all. For example, you can educate all the people that how to read a language, how to understand the laws of science, how to calculate numbers, but you cannot train everyone to be able to imagine a story, tell it out to people and motivate them, and that is why it becomes very costly. It depends on only, it is kind of individual trait. It is not a truth, so it cannot be taught to anyone. All right. Third and most important, the truth is often painful and disturbing. Hence, if you stick to the unalloyed reality, few people will follow you. An American presidential candidate who tells the American public the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about American history has a 100% guarantee of losing the elections. Because in that way, people won't be looking at a dream. If you tell everything which is true, then there'll be no concept of dreaming. And if the people do not dream about something, a big American dream in this context, then why would they vote for the candidate? Because the candidate just talks about what has happened. He is very factual in nature. That won't be able to motivate people to vote for him. All right. An uncompromising adherence to the truth is an admirable spiritual practice, but it is not a winning political strategy. So it said that truth goes the long way. Truth has got long legs, and people have said, "Give me truth and nothing else." But here, this paragraph very beautifully and very logically manages to explain that truth is not always required. And majorly, it is for the cooperative strategy or political strategy of Homo sapiens. Fourth paragraph. Even if we need to pay some price for deactivating our rational faculties, the advantages of increased social cohesion are often so big that fictional stories routinely triumph over the truth in human history. Scholars have known this for thousands of years, which is why scholars often had to decide whether they serve the truth or social harmony. Should they aim to unite people by making sure everyone believes in the same fiction, or should they let people know the truth even at the price of disunity? So, fourth paragraph essentially sums up everything. It's kind of a conclusion that what is necessary. Telling the whole truth and creating disunity, because when people be knowing the truth, they won't be having any common goal, any common dream. Should we do that, or should we actually start, or maybe which is already being done by the scholars, and should we actually believe in the thing that the truth has to be fabricated, a fiction has to be there to let people think, to let people be together, to let people feel that they are cooperative humans. Okay, I would like you all to mention in the comments if you have any example like this, because there are a lot of examples in religion, in philosophy, in society, where a lot of fictional tales have actually gathered or united people. So I would wait for that. Please mention that in the comment section. To go before we start discussing the questions, let us discuss some difficult or important words in the passage. The first one is myth. A myth is a widely held but false belief or idea. Homo sapiens, the primate species to which modern humans belong. Inherent, existing in something as a permanent, essential, or characteristic attribute. Outlandish, looking or sounding bizarre or unfamiliar. Unalloyed, complete and unreserved. Adherence, commitment to a person, cause, or belief. Cohesion, the action or fact of forming a united whole. So now we'll start discussing the questions. The first question says, regarding which one of the following quotes could we argue that the author overemphasizes the importance of fiction? There are 4 quotes given from the passage itself. The first one says, scholars often had to decide whether they serve the truth or social harmony. Should they aim to unite people by making sure everyone believes in the same fiction, or should they let people know the truth? Second says, hence, sticking with the truth is the best strategy for gaining power. Unfortunately, it is just a comforting myth. Third, in fact, truth and power have a far more complicated relationship, because in human society, power means 2 very different things. Fourth, on the one hand, power means having the ability to manipulate objective realities, to hunt animals, to construct bridges, to cure diseases, to build atom bombs. So it is very clear that the third and fourth options cannot be true. Here, the importance of fiction has not even been mentioned, let alone overemphasizing it. So we're left with option 1 and 2. And the author has said it overemphasizes. Let us read option 2 again. Sticking with the truth is the best strategy for gaining power. Unfortunately, it is just a comforting myth. So it has been said, like the first statement, sticking with the truth, the first statement has been disregarded by saying, unfortunately, it is just a comforting myth. That means in the second option is in sync with the question, but here overemphasis has not been done. It's just been mentioned that fiction is important, but how important, that is something which has not been mentioned in option 2. Option 1 seems to be the correct answer. Let us read that again. Scholars often had to decide whether they serve the truth or social harmony. Should they aim to unite people by making sure everyone believes the same fiction, or should they let people know the truth? So basically here, it has been overemphasized that if the scholars should serve the truth or the social harmony. That means in this option, it's been mentioned that the opposite of truth, which is fiction, is actually social harmony. right? So there are two choices. They serve the truth or social harmony. That means if they serve the truth, social harmony won't be there. That means fiction would be there. That means the fiction can only create social harmony. That means in option one, the importance of fiction has been overemphasized. So we'll go with first option. That is our correct answer. Second question. The central theme of the passage is about the choice between. First option says stories that unite people and those that distinguish groups from each other. Second, leaders who unknowingly spread fictions and those who intentionally do so. Third one says attaining social cohesion and propagating objective truth. Fourth says truth and power. So we have to think about the central theme of this passage. Let us explore the options one by one. But before that, the central theme, if we discuss, it would be the importance of fiction when it comes to uniting people. So basically, the central theme is all about how important fiction is, or how fiction should be preferred over truth to unite people, right? And the author has also mentioned that if we have to pay price for deactivating our rational faculties, in the last paragraph, if you see, even if we need to pay some price for deactivating rational faculties, the advantages would be very high. So that means if you look at all the options one by one, then attaining social cohesion and propagating objective truth should be the central theme of the entire passage. Whereas if you look at other options, it says stories that unite people, those distinguished groups from each. So basically, central theme should be mentioning the importance of fiction, and should also talk about how the objective reality is not the right way to kind of gather people. So first one, it just is very weird or very open statement, stories that unite people. This can be n number of stories which won't be considering fiction or objective realities. So that's why first is not comprehensive enough to be treated as the right answer. Second says leaders who unknowingly spread fictions and those who intentionally do so. So no, it's mentioned in the paragraph that the scholars actually knew this and they were doing it intentionally. In the fourth paragraph, it's mentioned in the fourth paragraph that that scholars have known this for thousands of years. So second statement goes against the passage. It cannot be true. And fourth one, truth and power, it's again a very wide option. It will involve a lot of things that would not be central theme. It's not just truth and power. It's about how truth and power are interconnected. So if we look at third, again, attaining social cohesion and propagating objective truth. So you can attain the social cohesion by fiction, and that is how you can propagate the objective truth. For example, you can attain social cohesion, social bonding over common goals, and you can build an atom bomb by propagating the objective or scientific or physical or empirical data. So objective truth is all about knowing the exact factual science, and social cohesion is attained by fiction. That is why option 3 is the central theme of the entire passage. Question number 3. The author implies that, like scholars, successful leaders, option 1, today know how to create social cohesion better than in the past. This statement in itself looks wrong because it's been mentioned that scholars have known this for thousands of years. The last paragraph tells about that. That means first option cannot be true, right? Scholars have known this for thousands of years. Second, know how to balance truth and social unity. Of course. The author has implied this throughout the passage, and majorly in the fourth paragraph. In third also, he has mentioned about the example of an American presidential candidate. And fourth, last paragraph, he or she has clearly told that successful leaders knew how to balance truth, that is objective reality, and social unity which is based on some fictional tales. They have been doing it for thousands of years. So option B looks the most correct, but let us read option 3 and 4 before marking option 2. Third says, need to leverage both types of power to remain in office. Not exactly. There's something very to the point, and that is not mentioned in the passage anywhere, so we do not need to mark that. Fourth, use myths to attain the first type of power. Not really. They just don't want to attain the power. They also want to use that power. So basically, knowing both the kind of powers, attaining both the kind of powers is important, and that can be done just by propagating the truth, the facts, as well as having a social unity. So second option goes with the implication of the author. Let us go to the fourth question. The author would support none of the following statements about political power except that. First option says, while unalloyed truth is not recommended, readers should stay as close as possible to it. Option B says, people cannot handle the unvarnished truth, so leaders retain power by deviating from it. 3 says, there are definite advantages to promoting fiction, but there needs to be some limit to a pervasive belief in myths. 4 says, manipulating people's beliefs is politically advantageous, but a leader who propagates only myths is likely to lose power. So, the question is very, kind of tricky. There are two negatives used over here. It says, author would support none of the following statements about political power except. That means there are two negatives. Author would support none of the following except. So there are two negatives. That means the question is which one would author actually support. There is something which is kind of very tricky in CAT, and the words like none, except, least likely, most likely, if true, if false. So all these things normally when we are in hurry, when we are writing the CAT, we tend to forget all that stuff, and that is something which we actually have to focus upon to write the correct answer. So here we have to tell which option would author support. All right. So it said the first one, unalloyed truth is not recommended, and readers should stay as close as possible to it. This is something which author would not actually support. That means because if the leader is too much close to the truth, he won't be a leader anymore. It's been mentioned by giving example of presidential candidate in America. So that is something which author would not support. Second, people cannot handle the unvarnished truth, so leaders retain power by deviating from it. This looks like correct option because people, the common people, they would not be able to handle, understand the truth, and that is why leaders have to deviate from it a bit by telling a fictional tale, and that is how they can retain power. That is something which author would support. But let us read option 3 and 4 also. Third one says there are definite advantages to promoting fiction, but here needs some kind of pervasive, but they need some limit to pervasive belief in myth. So that is something which author has not mentioned anywhere about limiting that to what extent should we try to tell the fictional tales. That is something which is out of context, so we will not go with that. Fourth, manipulating people's beliefs in a politically advantageous, but a leader who propagates only myth is likely to lose power. The author has, in fact, said the leader who propagates only truth is likely to lose power. So this doesn't go in sync with the passage. That is why option 2 is the most correct choice. I'll end this, but there's a very famous quotation about truth, which is something you need to know. All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. I would like you to comment on this and tell me any example where you have felt that the truth has gone through these 3 stages. I'll be waiting for that. Thank you.